What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of the Path to a Million podcast. Sorry I didn't announce this, but I figured we've been doing it for a few days in a row, so why not keep going? So if anybody has any questions, please write them in the comments. A couple of updates. What's today? Wednesday? So we're 2 days away from this whole thing going live. I talked to my SBA banker twice today, and this morning he emailed me this morning, and he seemed very 99% likely that distributions, things other than W-2s and 1099s will be included in the owner's pay, what they would be able to get approved for, as well as be able to utilize and get loan forgiveness on. He called me at like 6:30 tonight, and we were talking about it. He still seems very confident that that's going to happen, but he's yet to get verification from the SBA on what's the list of things that will be included that you can show as payroll costs. So that's one of these. I just cannot believe that the SBA is not realizing that this is like the most important thing for real small businesses, not the companies that have 10,000 employees that are going to qualify as small businesses for that, but like people that owner operators that make $150,000 a year in this company, and it's their only way of making money, and now they're going down to zero. I just can't believe that they're not gonna allow distributions, Schedule C's, K1s, personal tax returns. I find it hard to believe that they won't make that a part of it. But I'm still, I was he seemed very certain, as if he had heard something from the SBA. When he called tonight, he still was very certain, but he hadn't heard anything from the SBA. So just wanted to kind of give that update. But also, obviously wanted to answer any questions that somebody might have about a specific situation. I'm trying to think of, one thing, and I think we talked about this last night when that document came out, but I did get verification from him that, originally it was going to be up to 4% interest for up to 10 years repayment. I guess they've settled on this 2-year repayment at 0.5% interest. So that is that's a change, but it seems like that is locked in. So you're going to be able to get 6 months deferred payments, but you're going to need to pay it off in 2 years. So if you defer the payments for 6 months, you basically have 18 months to make good on anything that was not anything that wasn't forgiven, any loan money that wasn't forgiven at the end. That you'd have 6 months deferment and 18 months to pay it off at 0.5 interest. So the worst case scenario, the way that the thing that I'm the most worried about with this distribution thing is that we all go in there and we bring in our K1s and we bring in our Schedule C's and we bring in our personal tax returns, and the banker, who has no direction from the SBA on Friday, let's say, has no direction from the SBA one way or another, and they're like, you know what, that does sound right. We're going to approve that, right? And let's say that instead of you getting a $20,000 or $22,000 monthly average payroll cost, you get a $30,000 monthly average payroll cost. So that means you qualify for more, which then means you can use more money. And the banker tells you, yeah, I think that's gonna count, right? My best guess is that it counts. Then you get to the end of it and you file for forgiveness, and by that time, because it sounds like you're going to actually file for forgiveness on June 30th or by June 30th, not when you ended. What I was thinking is like you would get it on April 3rd. That would cover you through the end of May. You would submit your application for forgiveness, and then they have up to 60 days to do it. Because here's two situations that I'm a little bit concerned with. Is one, the banker says, yeah, that Schedule C is going to work. So for me, in particular, I pay myself $26,000 a year, and then I take out, whatever the distributions are, but they're over $100,000. So the banker says, yeah, you qualify for the 100K for you, and we're going to give you this money. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'll use that to like pay my mortgage and bills and whatnot. Then and my girlfriend has a business and I have a second business. And so let's say we take that money, and I mean, we would never like spend that much money, but like, let's say we spend it. And then at the end, by June 30th, when it comes time for the forgiveness, then the SBA pipes up and is like, yeah, only W-2s and 1099s are going to count towards this, right? And you get the money approved, and then you spend the money or you give it out, and then you don't get it approved. That's the kind of nightmare scenario. Not really nightmare, but that's the worst case scenario in my mind of what could happen if there isn't clear direction from the SBA on what counts for what you qualify for. The other thing that I'm worried about is that that the SBA guy that I talked to today, he doesn't work at the SBA, he works at my bank, but he's the SBA like director. The other thing I worry about is the way I was understanding it was you get your loan, let's say 4-3, that goes through. So like I keep everybody on payroll. That covers me through the end of May for 8 weeks. I pay 100% of my employees 100%. Now the law says as long as you bring everybody back and you're back on full employment by June 30th, you're good. But what if me, Nick Silveri, has an office that's at 0, we're closed, and we get to the end of May and we're still closed and they don't extend it, and and I have to make a decision there. So let's say hypothetically that I lay everybody off and I have them go get unemployment. Do I then still have to come back before June 30th and re-employ them, even though I may not have jobs for them or anybody coming into the office? So those are the two things that I just can't seem to get a good answer on. The way he was telling me was that you would apply at June 30th, like once the period was done, that's when you would apply. So they would know, because what I was thinking is if you got done in May, you turn in your stuff to get forgiven, everybody's still on the payroll, you get it forgiven. But if you apply for forgiveness at the end of June and you don't have everybody on payroll because the government's not paying you anymore, do you get the forgiveness? That's the question I got. All right. So Gerard, let's see. If the loan covers 8 weeks payroll from the origination date, wouldn't it make sense to apply once we intend on reopening the office and keep employees on unemployment until then? If not, I'm covering the entire payroll until the origination date. Thoughts? Yeah. So Gerard, I think you've been listening to me for a few days. So like, that I've been telling people like Friday is going to be the day. So be sure to get the appointment. So hopefully you got your appointment on Friday, because the way that they've been talking is that the day that you apply is the day that it gets originated, is the day that you get the money. So you wouldn't have to carry, it's not like you're waiting weeks, hopefully, to find out if you get the money or not. But what you're asking though, we've talked a lot about this. So if you're willing to risk that the money is going to be there, like if God himself came down right now and he said, Nick, on June 29th, you're gonna be able to reopen on June 29th. You're gonna be able to get the loan on June 29th. Money will still be there. All your team will come back. Nobody's gonna be upset that they've been on unemployment because they were getting paid. And yeah, everything's gonna be good. If God himself said that, I would probably have everybody go on unemployment because they'd make more money that way. And then I'd have them come back June 29th. And then if I knew that we weren't going to be open until June 29th, and then I would have it, because that way you'd be covered for July and for August, and unemployment would cover everybody up until the end of June. God himself is not coming down to tell me that, at least as much as I know. So I'm taking the bird in the hand, not the two in the bush. I'm taking the money now while it's available. And that's what I've been kind of like really pushing the last couple of days as what I think is the best choice, regardless of what your situation is, because there is no guarantee that this $349 billion lasts past Friday. Do you think there's a small business on earth that knows about this, that isn't like ready to go on Friday to get their money? Like, I have no idea what the private payroll of businesses that are under 500 people per location, I don't know what that is per month. But if everyone takes them up on it, and in a normal world, if that number is $200 billion, well, then there's like a month and a half available to give people. So I am not convinced that, number one, the money is going to be there if you do that. If you wait, if you put everybody on unemployment now, and then you wait until you open back up or get closer opening back up, and then you go and get the money, is it going to be there? That's the question. Right now, like for me, I've got $30,000 in payroll every month. I'm basically gambling $75,000 that the money's going to be there if I wait. And like I said, I'm not willing to gamble that much money. And that $30,000 assumes that all I can get is the $26K a year that I pay myself in payroll. What would that be? It's 36 if I actually get to utilize my distribution money. So that's the tricky part. So yeah, you got to make a decision. I've kind of finally boiled it down to where you have three decisions. You either, one, ignore that PPP even exists and you just like make your decisions as if it's not there. You like don't want to deal with the hassle of it, which is totally fine. Number two is you get the money now. You keep everybody on 100% pay, 100% head count, regardless if they're part-time, full-time, doesn't matter. That's what the bill is intended for. And if you do that, I think that's your best chance of getting the full loan forgiveness. And then the third option is some variation of what you're talking about. Can I wait until I know when we're going to reopen? Can I wait till the end of June? Can I take the money and then put them back on the payroll before June? Because there's another thing where it's like you could take the money out and not put them back on the payroll, but as long as we're back to the full head count and the payroll amount by the end of June, that you'd be okay. But I think that one's the worst situation, because I'd rather tell people to just not take it, to just not deal with it if you're worried about it, because I just would hate for people to think they're going to get this money forgiven and then they've got a loan that not only, and it used to be the loan was going to be paid back in 10 years, and I was just like, that's not that bad. If you have to pay it back in 2 years, even at 0.5% interest, if you spent the money on employees that you wouldn't have paid for otherwise, that, especially with all the other stuff that's going on, because it's not like this is going to be any better in 8 weeks. Like they're going to have to figure something out. Or it's not, I mean, it might be a little bit better in June, and maybe they've cracked the code on this thing, or maybe when it gets warm, it's not as contagious, but people are still going to be dying, and hospitals are going to be overrun, and it's just going to be a problem until they have this thing whipped. So that's my thoughts on that. And I don't care what your in particular, I've heard every situation at this point, to where I have boiled it down to those three choices. And the third choice, which is like, try to figure out the best way to game the system. The inherent flaw, the existential threat to that theory of wait is that you have no idea if the money is going to be there. And if the money runs out, whether they're going to refund it or like fund it more or extend it. So Glenn Hader, my #1 fan, dedication, thank you. Cynthia Riley, amen. Get it while you can. Yeah, exactly, Cynthia, you get it. Glenn, can you get the money April 3rd? I was planning on bringing everyone back May 1st since they said that May 4th they will try to resume school. Can you just hold the monies until the team comes back, then utilize the money? No. So you have 8 weeks. Like whenever you get the money, you got 8 weeks. So like what I said to the other guy, if you want to wait till May 1st and see what happens, but again, like what if the money's gone on Friday? Like that's why I said I wasn't kidding when I said to like go get the appointment on Friday, because like it could be gone Saturday. Like you just don't know. All right. Let's see. Gerard. My employees are getting paid almost double on unemployment. How do I bring them back without protest? I don't know. Like, I mean, that's why I've been telling, this is an exact situation of why I've been telling people to avoid unemployment at all costs. Like today I had, what's today, Wednesday? Today and tomorrow. So I had a meeting, I had our team meeting on Tuesday. And so we had payroll last Friday. That payroll was for the week, like there's a gap between when the payroll time period ends and when the check goes out. So the week that we were closed was last week and this week. So the payroll where no money's been coming in was is next Friday, like 10 days from now. So that I was hoping that this would happen on Friday so that it would make those decisions easier, and I knew we could backdate it so it wasn't as big of a deal. But the reason why I didn't tell them to go file for unemployment is because I've got stuff for them to do. Like I have Leverage Media, which is an online company that allows me to deliver services remotely for people. So all those people that worked for me in Springfield, I could have them do different. I have more man hours now that I can service more chiropractors if like we want to do. If people want to do more website design or like optimize their Google My Business, and there's all kinds of things that we could do as like long-term projects while you guys are closed. But my staff is still servicing our clients. The people that work for Leverage are still servicing our clients. So they don't have the time for the extra services. So my Springfield Wellness Center people, I can train them on how to do these things and then they can do it. That's a unique situation for me. If all I had was the office, I still would not have wanted them to go on unemployment because I wouldn't want them to start making double on unemployment, because that's a tough conversation to have. Like, because for them individually, unemployment's probably a better deal. For you as a team and as a business, the PPP is a better deal. And the way that I would frame it is that we're kind of all in this together, and like we have to all like make the same decision to make sure that we come out of it on the other end and get the full loan forgiveness, and that the unemployment is there afterwards. If in 8 weeks it's no different, then the unemployment is still there. But yeah, that's a great example of why, if you want to get this PPP money, why letting your employees go on unemployment and get used to paying double doing nothing that's a tough one to convince someone of. Let's see. I have one CA, Chris Hansen. I have one CA who can't work her normal 35 hours per week because she has 4 school-age children who she is staying home with. If she goes out on unemployment, can it still be forgiven on the PPP loan? No, probably not, because if you don't have the same head count, if you don't have the same payroll, you won't get the full loan forgiveness. But I also don't think that you can put her in particular on unemployment. And this is the other tricky part, is the first stimulus bill covered the sick leave and FMLA. And I don't know a lot about that, just because I didn't figure that a lot of chiropractors would take advantage of it, and I didn't need it. So I didn't read that bill. But you may not be able to even you may not even be able to put her on unemployment. You may have to give her sick leave or FMLA in order to, and then they have tax credits that will help you pay for that. But yeah, that might not, I don't know. Like with unemployment now, they've like relaxed it so much. You probably could, but yes, it would. If any of your staff, basically, if you do not bring your staff back 100% at 100% payroll of what they were making prior, that you're risking not getting the loan forgiven at 100%. So for her, you would just keep paying her for the 8 weeks to just stay at home with her kids and homeschool. There's Guy. So Glenn is Guy's brother. Look at this name, Guy Hader. Like, what a great name. All right, Glenn, May 1st to June 30th will be our 8 weeks. Yes, that's true. It's small loan at 5%. It's next to nothing. Sure thing. Jared, what's up? Steve Lanieski, what's going on, man? Kirk Pethram, Devin Waterman, what's up? Chris Hansen, I have 6 total employees, only 1 get out on unemployment. So that would mean that you'd be risking, what would that be, 17%? You'd be risking 17% of the loan forgiveness. So if you're okay with that, then you're okay with that. Michael Brady, I have 7 team members, 2 applied for unemployment. Is my head count 5 for my application tomorrow? And could I subtract their payroll out of the total payroll? I think the short answer, I would guess, is probably no, you can't subtract their payroll out. You're gonna have to show like what your payroll was. Just because you get approved for it doesn't mean you have to spend it. But if you have two, are they full-time? Michael, can you say if they're full-time or part-time? And then let's assume they're full-time. If you were at 7 and your head count's now 5, then that would cut you down. What would that be? 13. It's like 14, 28. That cuts you down like 28% of your loan forgiveness. So you could keep paying for the 5 that stay on. You could and you could pay them 100%, but then you just wouldn't get paid the full. You wouldn't get the loan forgiveness for the full 100%. You'd have to end up paying for the 28% that you lost on the 2 that filed for unemployment. But I also don't know how they're going to qualify full-time employees, because it says like full-time equivalent employees or equivalent full-time employees. So that may mean that like 2 part-timers equal 1 full-time. So it's impossible to say until, again, the SBA that's another thing that they've been kind of vague about, is like, how are they going to determine the head count for sure. So my boy Tony Ebel, pediatric experience. If you guys haven't checked it out, check that out. My boy is blowing it up. Glenn, it can be forgiven, Chris. Now Glenn's an expert. Jeez Louise. It can be forgiven, Chris. You can just put her on payroll and have her stay home. No one says you have to bring them back to work and be physically back in the office. Man, Glenn is an expert. He's been listening to all these. Do you recommend doing PPP and SBA? Can we do both? I assume SBA means the disaster loan. Yes, you can. Just don't use the disaster loan money for the things that you're using the PPP money for. So, for example, if you take the PPP money April 3rd and you use that for April and May's payroll, don't use the SBA disaster loan money for April and May's payroll. And also, if you get the advance, the $10,000 advance that you can get with the disaster loan, if you get that and then you get the loan forgiveness from PPP, they'll subtract the $10,000 loan forgiveness, or the $10,000 advance from the loan forgiveness of the PPP. Flora, I have already started paying my staff again, even though the PPP is not out yet. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, the application's out. So it's out right now. Like, you can download it off the Treasury website. You can download it. If you just Google PPP or Paycheck Protection Program application, it'll probably pop up from the SBA website. And you print it out, but you need to talk to your bank about what they need you to do, because some, I think, are having you fill out the application online. Others are having you do it in person, dropping like the paperwork off through the drive-through. So it just depends on the bank. But I've already started paying my staff again. Yeah, I mean, I think that's okay, because you're like, let's say your payroll was Friday, like mine was. The way the bill is written is that you can go back to February 15th to basically reimburse yourself for any payroll from then on. So yeah, those are my thoughts. All right, man, it's been a long day. It's been a long few days. So anybody else have any questions? I can stay on for another minute, and then I need to go watch the last, I fell asleep in the last episode of Ozark, so I have like the last 40 minutes left. So actually, I'm going to end this live right now before somebody spoils it. So I'll see you guys on the next one.